Every trader prepares for the market. Few prepare for themselves. You wake up, check the futures, review the news, glance at the charts, and think you're ready, but your preparation isn't complete until your mind is. Because before the first candle forms, the market has already begun testing you, not your setup, your state. What you think, what you feel, what you carry into the open, it all becomes your bias. It shapes your perception before a single price tick appears. This is where professionals separate from amateurs. They don't start with the chart. They start with the self. 30 seconds. That's all it takes. A single pause between distraction and awareness to reset, to recenter, to remind yourself who you are and how you trade. This is Mind Over Markets, and this is Priming Before Open, the 30-second script. A ritual to master the only thing that truly matters, your state. Every trader has a setup for the market, but few have a setup for themselves. You wake up, the charts are waiting, the numbers begin to move, your eyes scan the screen, your pulse starts to rise and your mind starts to calculate. You think you're preparing to trade the market, but what you're really doing is priming your state. Every sound, every thought, every breath you take before the bell shapes how you'll see the next 5 hours. The open doesn't test your strategy first, it tests your psychology. And in that moment between preparation and execution, between calm and chaos, something invisible decides how your day begins. That something is state. Your mental state before the open determines the lens through which you'll see every move. When you're rushed, the market feels fast. When you're anxious, the market feels hostile. When you're centered, the market feels fluid. And yet most traders walk into the session reacting before it even begins. They prime their minds without knowing it, scrolling through news, checking overnight moves, watching others' opinions, feeding their nervous system a cocktail of noise before the bell even rings. They think it's preparation, but it's stimulation. And stimulation kills sensitivity. You can't read subtlety when your mind is flooded with noise. You can't see clearly when your brain is already predicting disaster. So here's the truth. Your first trade isn't the one you take with your mouse. It's the one you take with your mind. Before your cursor hovers over buy or sell, your brain has already placed a bet on fear or on awareness, on reaction or on response. That's why priming matters. Because your brain doesn't begin fresh at the open. It begins with whatever story you told it right before. If that story is tension, you'll see chaos. If that story is calm, you'll find rhythm. And the story you tell takes only 30 seconds to begin. 30 seconds that most traders waste and professionals protect like sacred ground. Because in that small gap between the last minute of preparation and the first tick of movement, you can shift everything. Your breathing, your focus, your identity. The 30-second script isn't a mantra. It's a mirror, a way to align the part of you that acts with the part of you that knows. Imagine this moment. The clock reads 9:29:30. The market is about to open. You're sitting in silence. No notifications, no distractions, just the sound of your breath. You place your hands on the desk. You look at the chart and you whisper not to the market but to yourself, I am not here to predict. I am here to respond. Those words shift everything because prediction creates pressure. Response creates presence. Prediction looks for certainty. Response adapts to reality. When you prime your mind with that truth, the noise outside begins to soften. You start to feel the difference between information and impulse. You begin to see the market not as something to fight, but as something to read. And it happens fast, almost instantly. Your body begins to slow. Your thoughts start to fall in line. You're no longer trying to conquer the open, you're listening to it. Because priming isn't about control, it's about readiness. You're not forcing the market to fit your expectation. You're shaping your mind to meet the moment. That's the real edge. The amateurs believe preparation ends when the charts are ready. The professionals know it begins when their mind is. They don't walk into the open hoping to find discipline. They walk in already aligned with it. They build it before the bell rings with breath, intention, and awareness. Because the brain remembers patterns. If you feed it fear before the open, it will search for fear all day. If you feed it calm, it will seek structure. If you feed it awareness, it will find opportunity. The market doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're ready for. And readiness is a state, not a strategy. You can spend years studying setups and still sabotage them in seconds if you enter the session misaligned. So before every open, you have a choice. You can prime yourself to chase, to react, to control, or you can prime yourself to observe, to respond, to flow. The difference is 30 seconds. But those 30 seconds are the most important of your day because they decide whether you trade your edge or your emotion. The open isn't just where the market begins. It's where your psychology reveals itself. The 30-second script is simple, but it is not small. It's the bridge between your preparation and your performance, the difference between reacting and responding, between a trader chasing noise and a trader anchored in awareness. It's not about hyping yourself up, it's about tuning yourself down. So your awareness becomes sharp, your breath steady, and your emotions neutral. In those 30 seconds before the open, you don't need a speech. You need a reset. And that reset happens in 3 lines. 3 sentences that bring you back to center, set your intention, and free you from outcome. The first 10 seconds, centering. This is where you return to the present moment, where you take control of your physiology before the market controls your psychology. You take one breath in through the nose, slow and deliberate. And in your mind, you say, I am not here to predict. I am here to respond. Those words sound simple, but they dissolve tension. They remind you that trading is not about knowing, it's about noticing. You can't respond when you're clinging to expectations. You can't observe when you're obsessed with outcomes. Prediction tightens the mind. Response opens it. This is how you start, by releasing control. Because the moment you stop trying to force the market to obey your will, you free yourself to actually see what it's saying. And in that stillness, awareness wakes up. The second 10 seconds, intention. Once you've centered, you define your purpose. You remind yourself who you are and why you're here. You whisper to yourself quietly like an oath. My job is process. My edge is discipline. That's not a quote. That's an anchor. Those words remind your brain that success doesn't come from what happens next. It comes from how you act when it does. You are not here to win every trade. You are here to execute your edge with precision, no matter what happens. And discipline isn't rigidity, it's rhythm. It's the ability to stay in tune with your process even when the market tries to drag you into noise. Your job is not to be perfect. Your job is to be consistent. The professional knows this. He doesn't ask, will this trade work? He asks, will I execute this trade correctly? The outcome belongs to probability. The execution belongs to you. That's intention. It brings control back where it belongs to your actions, not your expectations. And then comes the final 10 seconds, separation. This is where you break the invisible link between identity and outcome, where you remind yourself that you are not your P&L, that a red day doesn't define your skill and a green one doesn't define your worth. You close your eyes for a moment and you say, the outcome doesn't define me. My execution does. Those words free you. Because the ego craves validation. It wants to be right, not disciplined. It wants control, not awareness. But every great trader eventually learns you can't grow when your self-worth depends on every tick. That separation is power. It's what allows you to act without fear, to hold without panic, to lose without collapse. It's not detachment from money. It's detachment from identification. The realization that performance is not identity. You are the observer, not the result. And when you internalize that, something profound happens. The pressure fades, the noise softens, your awareness expands, and your execution becomes fluid again. 30 seconds, 3 sentences, 3 shifts, from chaos to calm, from prediction to presence, from outcome to observation. That's the script. Not a ritual of luck, a ritual of awareness. It primes your nervous system for clarity. It tells your brain, this is who I am. This is what I control. This is where I begin. Because when the bell rings, the world speeds up. The data floods in. The movement begins. And the only thing standing between you and that chaos is your ability to stay aligned. That alignment doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. You design it with breath. You reinforce it with words. You live it with discipline. That's what the 30-second script is, not self-talk, but self-programming. A way of telling your subconscious mind what kind of trader is sitting at the desk today. Because the brain listens to the first voice it hears. And if that voice is reactive, fearful, scattered, your day will follow that tone. But if that voice is calm, deliberate, centered, everything else syncs with it. This is how professionals prime themselves. Not by reading news, not by predicting direction, not by chasing volatility, but by setting the tone of their mind before the first candle forms. The amateur prepares their setup, the professional prepares their state, and the 30-second script is how they bridge the two. It's the invisible edge that lives between awareness and action, between what you see and how you interpret it, between a market that moves and a trader that flows with it. At some point, you realize this isn't about trading anymore. It's about consciousness, about how you meet the moment. The market is just the mirror. It reflects your preparation, your emotion, your discipline, and your state. And every morning, right before the open, you get to decide who's sitting at the desk. The reactive self or the aware one. That's the power of priming. It's not superstition. It's state design. Because the market doesn't care what you think. It only reacts to what you project. If you project fear, it will confirm it. If you project greed, it will feed it. If you project clarity, it reflects it. You set that tone before the first tick even forms, not by analyzing, but by aligning, not by forcing, but by feeling. That's what the 30-second script is for. It's your reset, your calibration point. A small ritual that tells your nervous system, this is where the market ends and where I begin. Because if you don't define that boundary, the market will define it for you. It will pull you into its rhythm, its chaos, its emotions, until you forget who's leading and who's following. Every open is a test, but it's not a test of your strategy. It's a test of your state. And your state is built before the bell, not after. The amateurs walk in seeking excitement. The professionals walk in protecting focus because they know their first trade is internal. It's not buy or sell. It's awareness or noise. And that's a choice you make consciously or unconsciously every single day. You can let the market prime you, or you can prime yourself. You can start from anxiety or from alignment. You can chase or you can observe. You can fight for control or you can prepare for clarity. Because what you bring into the open decides what the open brings back to you. The 30-second script is not about words. It's about identity. It's about who you become when you say them. When you whisper, I am not here to predict. I am here to respond. You are telling your mind to let go of ego, to trade the truth, not your need to be right. When you affirm, my job is process, my edge is discipline, You are reminding yourself that success is not the market's gift, it's your consistency repeated. And when you close with the outcome doesn't define me, my execution does, you reclaim your power. You take the emotion out of the tick. You stand free from attachment. That's what professional composure feels like, not coldness, but clarity. A calm confidence that doesn't need to win to feel in control, because control doesn't come from dominance, it comes from alignment. You are not the market. You are the awareness observing it. And the quieter that awareness becomes, the clearer it sees. 30 seconds. That's all it takes. 30 seconds to shift from reaction to response, from self-doubt to self-trust, from chaos to calm. And when you start every session from that place, you stop chasing edge, you become it. Because priming is not a performance. It's presence. It's a reminder that trading is not something you do. It's something you are when you're centered. So before the next open, take the time. Don't rush into the charts. Don't drown in the noise. Don't hand your mind to the market before it even begins. Close your eyes. Breathe. Speak your truth. I am not here to predict. I am here to respond. My job is process. My edge is discipline. The outcome doesn't define me. My execution does. Then look at the clock. The seconds are counting down, and you feel it, that shift from chaos to composure, from wanting to knowing. Now you're ready. The bell rings. The world moves, but you don't chase it. You meet it quietly, steadily present, because you're not trading the market anymore. You're trading your awareness, and awareness never misses the open. This is mind over markets. Trade consciously. Think deliberately. And remember, before you trade the market, trade your state. When the day ends, the market fades. The numbers stop moving. The noise falls silent. And all that remains is the mind you brought into it. Your performance wasn't defined by your strategy. It was defined by your state, by the story you told yourself before the first trade began. Because every decision, every click, every hesitation traces back to those few seconds before the open. That's where mastery begins. Not in knowledge, but in awareness. Not in control, but in clarity. So before the next session, take your 30 seconds. Close your eyes, breathe, center. I am not here to predict. I am here to respond. My job is process. My edge is discipline. The outcome doesn't define me. My execution does. Let those words become your anchor, your reset, your rhythm. Because the market will always test your patience, but your state will decide your performance. This is mind over markets. Trade consciously, think clearly. And remember, before you trade your strategy, prime your state.